Hello guys, welcome to Chasing a Murderer. Please guys, don't forget to push that like and subscribe button. Do that right now, please. And hit that notification bell if you'd like to get notification when I upload new material. Okay guys, so we're going to be talking about a story that comes out of Richmond, Kentucky, or the Lexington, Kentucky area. And what a lot of people don't realize is a very southern area. It's a place where you don't have to ask for sweet tea because all tea is sweet tea. Savannah Spurlock, if you are a subscriber or you watch my channel, you are most likely familiar with Savannah Spurlock. She is that 22-year-old young, beautiful mother of 4 that disappeared in January. Savannah grew up in, the Kentucky area almost her whole life. She attended Madison Central High School and later went to Eastern Kentucky University, and that was in Richmond. She lived with her mother and her sister and her boys, of course. Now, I'm going to give you a brief description of what happened to Savannah Spurlock. So if you're not familiar with the story, you might want to refer back to my older videos and then return back here. Starts January 3rd. Savannah spends the day with her family. Then later that night, she decides to get ready. She calls a few of her friends, and they decide that they would meet up at the friend's house, then go out to a bar called the Other Bar, which is a local for the college kids there. Savannah rides one of her friends out to the friend's house that's in Lexington. She takes her mom's car, then leaves it there, and they ride in the friend's car to the Other Bar. They arrive there somewhere around 10, and they hang out for a bit, but their friends decide that they're going to go ahead and leave. We hear that Savannah and the friends kind of get in an argument of what time to leave. Turns out the friends just end up leaving Savannah behind. And, they had to leave. They couldn't stay. Savannah and her friends, what we're hearing, had met 3 guys at that Other Bar that night. One of those men was named David Sparks, and he was a white guy. And then there was 2 African Americans that we do not know what their names are at this time. At approximately in between 2 and 2:30, they decide to leave the bar. We have the timestamps on the other videos. I just don't remember them offhand right now. And this is just a quick go because this is an update. In between that time, they decide to leave the bar. And you can video camera in a parking lot caught footage of Savannah standing beside David Sparks and those 2 other males. Now, the other 2 males are African American males. We have no names to go with those faces right now. But we do see surveillance camera where Savannah Spurlock leaves the parking lot with these 3 men. And later, she FaceTimes her mother in between 2:30 3 a.m. January 4th, tells her that she'll be home later. Ellen says in several interviews, kind of some contradicting things. Once she says, the guys seem kind of, irritated. And another time she says that Savannah seemed to be fine. She didn't seem to be in distress. Regardless of what she says, Savannah promises her mother she'd come home, so Ellen falls back to sleep. Later, Savannah is taken to a house on Price Court. And we find out that at 8:30 in the morning, Savannah Spurlock's phone has been shut off. She hasn't arrived home. Her family hasn't seen or heard from her. Obviously, the police are called. The police do investigate ask questions, where, if they seen her, where she was. And we began to hear that there is another property involved. So there's two properties involved with the search for Savannah Spurlock. One belongs, is one that David's renting, and the other belongs to his parents. And this one's in Lancaster. This had me a bit confused. I really didn't understand what they were writing in the paper. I think a lot of us that are not from that area had no clue what they were talking about, with that there was two houses involved. Regardless, January 8th, police put out an official missing persons, and they request for public's assistance trying to locate Savannah Spurlock. But there is no luck. No one knows anything. We find out there's just nothing. There's no talking from anyone. No one knows what happened to Savannah Spurlock. And a lot of us found that hard to believe. Eventually, police do get a search warrant and search the Lancaster property, or the Fall Lake Road piece of property. They get the car, they get they search the house and the area, but we hear they come up pretty empty-handed. We heard they're able to stop one of the men, David Sparks, at a stop, and kind of talk to him there, but we didn't get nothing from that. We hear that they talked to the other two persons of interest, and nothing from them either. Oddly enough, during this time, none of the neighbors have seen or heard anything. Nobody. Odd. But remember, guys, these guys didn't have much time to do it. They did something to Savannah. They didn't have much time to hide her. So she's on that property somewhere, one of those two properties. That's what I thought for a long time. I mean, I just don't think they had enough time to really do anything. I thought perhaps under the house. So anyways, we went 6 long months of nothing before finally we got a tip. This is after the family had put out, an anonymous tip line. They put out metal tip boxes that said they had no cameras or anything, where you could just put a tip in. There were multiple opportunities for anybody that suspected something to put in a tip. Either police hid the fact that these people put tips in, or we never got a tip. As far as we know, we never heard of any tips. So nobody had come forward with any tips. Now here we're going to begin our update. So after 6 months of nothing, Richmond Assistant Chief Police Rodney Richardson said that they had received a tip around 5 p.m. on a Wednesday that there was a foul odor coming from the property on Fall Lake Road, and that was the property of David Sparks' parents. Police head out to that property immediately to secure it until a search warrant is put through and okayed. The search warrant is okayed, and investigators go out to the property and search the area. Many of us that were following this story stayed up all night until police give us information on what they would find. What they found come about Approximately 5 to 6 hours later, almost at midnight exactly, they find Savannah Spurlock's remains in a very shallow grave. Shortly after, and I believe it was 1:51 a.m., David Sparks was arrested and taken to jail. We have all been sitting at the edge of our seats waiting for more information, new details to emerge of whether or not there would be more arrests, whether or not they would upgrade the charges to David Sparks, because at the moment he only had a few charges, and one of them being tampering with a corpse. We all know that, the murder charges can come later, and they can come much later sometimes. But, we heard all this and we felt a little closure, and I'm sure the family did as well. But what we're hearing right now is there was possible witnesses that could have helped us come to a conclusion much earlier. According to Daily Mail, they have a witness that lived in the home next to the home where Savannah Spurlock was taken the night she vanished. And what she said she heard that night just blows my mind, and I'm sure it'll blow yours. Now, how did they say that they found Savannah? They say that they found Savannah Spurlock in an unnatural position which had been moved recently, according to Purdy, beneath the surface of the ground at Perkins Lane home off Fall Lake Road in Garrett County. Several people have mentioned that there was a possibility that her body was moved. I always suspected that her body would be under the house. These are older homes in these areas, and they have wood floors a lot of times, so they have that open space underneath. According to some articles, they say that her feet were also bound, and the girl was naked. She wrapped over a rug, is what we're hearing in some articles. But what is the new thing that I'm talking about? So a neighbor come forward with details, and she says that she's speaking out, but she's doing it anonymously. She says she's claiming that she's haunted by the scream she heard coming from the house that cold night in January. She says, quote, "I thought at first it was kids next door, but then I knew it wasn't," she said. "I tried to wake my husband, but he was mostly too drunk. I got up and I listened, and I know they were coming from that house," end quote. The neighbor is referring to screams that she said she heard coming from the home that night that Savannah was taken to that home. It says that, the house that she is referring to is not the one where Spurlock's body was found months later, but the rental home where Sparks had been living at the time in Lancaster, Kentucky. But what is really frightening and upsetting to me is this quote. "They didn't start looking for her," referring to Savannah, "for a while after. But when the police came, I just knew." The neighbor continued to say, quote, "I knew what I had heard. I knew something bad happened in there. She never came out of there alive. I told the police that when they came searching," end quote. So obviously this was the evidence the police said that they had, that they were so tight-lipped about. But really, with the witness that should have been pretty credible, that wasn't enough, was it? Not only did Daily Mail come up with this witness with these new details emerging, they also claim that there is footage from a security camera showing Savannah Spurlock entering that house and never coming back out. And you might ask yourself, like I am, if they had all of this evidence, is there something with the laws that I'm missing? Because why are these men running free? And with everything that they know right now, why isn't there a murder charge? And why is there only one man in jail? And the reason why I say this is with the next bit of evidence I'm about to share with you. So according to this article, another neighbor reportedly said Sparks started moving furniture and items out of the home after Spurlock's disappearance. He eventually moved back home with his parents. Quote, Spark was in and out of the house, taking things out, furniture, rugs. There are a lot of activity at that house before the cops ever came, end quote, the neighbor said. And the most important part of this evidence that I'm sharing with you today is the fact that Daily Mail investigation claims that a closed circuit TV footage captures the 22-year-old mother entering the home but not leaving. And also, there was a tape and footage that was shown by the suspects at their work showing Savannah Spurlock doing favors of some sort. I don't want to say on here, but I'm sure you know what I mean. They said that she was so drunk that when she spoke, it didn't even sound like English. I'm not certain if the police have seen this information, if this is true or not. But since it's coming from another mouth, you would think that this is something that they possibly seen and possibly could be a witness. But what I've always heard is that they are told not to share any information, as it could be devastating to the prosecutor's case. It could destroy it. But another piece of me is also glad to know that hopefully there should be a couple more arrests coming, as well as charges being upgraded. Now, I thought possibly that the Spurlock family might have known a little bit more than they do. It seems they might know a little bit more than we do, and they have reasons for keeping their mouth shut. But for those of us that are trying to keep her story and to bring her justice, it's important to have some sort of update, something to put out there in order to keep the story alive, because this story isn't over. We're far from it. In fact, the purpose of this video is to make sure that Savannah's name is still being spoken. Okay, so what's next? So this is what Remembering Savannah posted, which used to be Finding Savannah. It's a family site, and she says, I have updated regarding the grand jury meeting. Detectives just let us know that the grand jury will not hear Savannah's case this Wednesday, August 14th. It has been moved to a later date, yet to be determined. That's all the information that I have. Media, you can try to reach out to KSP or Richmond PD, but I'm guessing they will not have any more information to relay. Also on Remembrance Savannah, Shaq Smith, who was the once boyfriend and the father of 3 of Savannah Spurlock's children, including the twins, shared a very intimate moment. It reads, it's very touching. Good little Sunday drive to bring some flowers. So he drove the kids out to the grave where Savannah was laid to rest. And it just breaks your heart to see that. And I'm sure it's hard on the family, especially her mother, Ellen, because not too long ago, Savannah Spurlock was that little one's age, not that long ago. Anyways, we're sending blessings, we're sending hope, and we're sending our support still, letting people know we are interested in seeing Savannah Spurlock get the justice she deserves. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon.